Welcome back. Okay, everyone, raise your hand. How many of you have watched the debate over Obamacare and said, wait a minute, I'm one of the so-called lucky ones who gets health insurance through my employer. Why is it becoming almost unaffordable? And why isn't anyone doing anything about it? The debate in Congress last year was whether or not to kill the Affordable Care Act, better known as Obamacare. We will continue to debate its merits and its costs, but for a lot of middle-class families lucky enough to get health insurance through the workplace, the cost and coverage are getting worse. Cost more, covers less. This will be the sixth consecutive year of at least 5% increase in premiums and out-of-pocket costs. And increasingly, employers are picking up less of the overall tab. And joining us for more are Michael Snipes, economics instructor at USF Sarasota Manatee, and Keith Fitzgerald, a political science professor at New College. So, Michael, beginning with you, what is the economic reason for this?
Well, when it comes to insurance, there's a lot of things that go into premium prices because you have to worry about things like how these plans are taxed. You have to worry about risk pooling. You have to worry about the cost of care. And so when you're looking at why the cost of health care is going up, there's a lot of different reasons why it could be changing. And so we need to be careful and kind of take a holistic approach and a holistic look at how things are changing and why things are changing, as opposed to maybe kind of honing in on one particular piece.
Keith, let me take you back into a time machine before Obamacare, which basically, for better or for worse, kind of hijacked the entire debate about health care in this country. But even before Obamacare, employer-based insurance was going up every single year, making it more difficult for people. Why hasn't Congress, Republicans and Democrats together, through administrations, been able to do anything about this?
Yeah, throughout the entire Obamacare debate, I always wish people could go back in a time machine, because I think everyone who is paying any serious attention to healthcare costs recognized that prior to that act, healthcare as we were doing it was unsustainable. It was a catastrophe at that point. It was only in that context that Obamacare it could have passed at all. And one of the key factors that could have been in your list, probably is below all of those things, is that prices of healthcare in the United States continue to rise faster than inflation in every other sector of the economy, and that drives really the whole problem. It presented Obamacare with the challenges it had, and it now is affecting private insurance the same way.
Our conversation on the cost of healthcare continues right after we have the check on the first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Big changes headed our way, Alan, as a cold front now still back here over the panhandle of Florida has a ways to go. We've had the prefrontal trough, which brought us some showers, heavy rainfall at times, even a few lightning strikes. All that heavy weather mainly along the east coast now, although I would not be surprised to see one or two lone lightning strikes to emerge out of some of these cells offshore. You can see that rain now over Northport, stretching toward Arcadia. That line is the most intense line, and it's not all that intense in terms of wind or lightning, but it is bringing some heavy rainfall at times into eastern portions of Hardee County. And now the rain's back in Anna Maria, as well as they've had this line about 4:30 or 5 o'clock this evening. You can see that rain near Northport, and then that light to moderate rain occurring near Anna Maria Island, near Northwest Braden, stretching down towards Siesta Key. More showers are out here, and these will continue to push on shore as the whole front works its way southward over the next 12 hours or so. Here's the futurecast showing the intense line of showers, or at least moderate to heavy rainfall, moving to the south of us by 10:30 tonight. And then the actual cold front still back here, and that'll move on through basically during the morning hours and thin out as far as that rainfall goes, but still periodic showers possible. And even right at 7 a.m. We will start to see that wind pick up. Temperatures will not warm all that much throughout the day, despite the fact we may see some sunshine occasionally, and then those winds really whipping around to the northwest up to 20 to 30 miles an hour at times by tomorrow afternoon. So your hourly planner calls for some clouds and sunshine mix tomorrow morning, and then by say 1 o'clock we'll be in the mid 60s and temperatures staying pretty chilly throughout the afternoon, and those winds are causing some concern for us on Wednesday morning, as things will be rather cold then. So in the mid to upper 50s to start things off tomorrow. We'll warm into the mid 60s for highs tomorrow. And then for Wednesday's lows, we'll be down into the mid 40s for the most part. The coldest morning from this will be Thursday morning, when lows will be down to the low 40s in places across the Sun Coast. and upper 40s near the area beaches, 47 in Fort Myers. And then for Wednesday afternoon, we'll only warm into the upper 50s to low 60s for highs on that day. Now, as far as the current conditions go, we do have some clouds and some showers at the airport. It's 70 degrees, relative humidity at 93%, winds out of the north-northwest, and they're at 8 miles an hour. The high today in the 80s. We won't see the 80s again until Saturday afternoon. Temperatures will start to rebound by Friday afternoon back into the upper 70s, close to average. Temperatures for highs tomorrow only in the 20s in places like Minot, Minneapolis, and into Chicago, 24, the high temperature. So the big chill occurring across much of the upper Mississippi Valley and throughout the Great Lakes. Boston will see a high of 47. Well, there's that major winter storm still causing problems tonight, but not nearly as much as it did earlier into Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. Still mainly rainfall now into New York, although we are getting some snow into Maine as well as Vermont and New Hampshire, where there are some warnings still up there, winter storm warnings in the area of pink, but that has been alleviated throughout much of the central U.S. as a result of that storm system now winding down. 7-day forecast calling for a much cooler day tomorrow, highs in the mid-60s only. We'll start off very cold and windy on Wednesday morning, a low of 42 on Thursday, highs only in the 60s on Wednesday and Thursday, back into the 80s though over the weekend. Alan will be back with his guests right after this. Stick around.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Good kisses. Good kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. Yeah. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Welcome back. We are talking about the rising cost of employer-based health insurance, and joining us for more are Michael Snipes, economics instructor at USF Sarasota Manatee, and Keith Fitzgerald, political science professor at New College. So Keith, let me start with you. And you told me that, you know, it's complicated, and I get all this, but as far as you want to go back, if you want to go back to the Clinton administration or the first Bush or Reagan, we knew this was a problem, and every administration, every Congress since then has failed to really take it on.
Yeah, the problem goes way back to the 1940s, really, when we made the decision of basing so much health care delivery through private insurance tied to employment. That was a fateful decision. It wasn't one made very intentionally, but the place that I always like to get people to start when they think about this entire issue is the United States, among the really wealthy countries, is worst on all kinds of outcome measures and by far the most expensive. You could be one or the other, but to be both, you've really got to be messing it up. And I think at the root of it really is a political problem. All of the interest groups in healthcare are extremely powerful, and they all have a veto on the kind of major changes that would have to be done in order to get control of costs.
And I think that that's a good point, because what I tell a lot of my students when insurance issues come up is that a big part of the problem is that insurance companies, they're not necessarily in business for your health. I mean, they are for-profit companies, and they're going to be acting and making decisions that are going to be best for their bottom line. And if it's better for their bottom line, and it may not be better for you, they're going to go with a decision that's going to help them more than anything. And I think that goes back to exactly what you were talking about. You have a lot of lobbying power that pushes against a lot of the regulation that might be necessary. And so that's another thing that could be driving some of these increases in price.
And when you talk about just the pure politics of it, there have been times I've looked at members of Congress who serve on the committees that oversee healthcare policy, and you look at their campaign contributions and you see where those contributions are coming from. Aetna, the Hartford, all those big companies, they're making contributions, and they're doing it, Keith, for a pretty good reason.
Yeah, you get what you pay for. And in fact, I think people focus a lot on campaign finance as the heart of the problem. In addition to that, you also have to think about lobbying. The committees, the members of Congress themselves are highly reliant on the interests in providing them the kind of expert knowledge they need to make these policies. So they're in a completely dependent position.
All right, when we come back, I want to jump into exactly what factors within the healthcare system are really responsible for those costs and how to maybe show some light on it. We're just getting warmed up. Our conversation on the cost of healthcare will continue after a quick break, so stay with us.
Helping families with mesothelioma is all we do. My firm has been offering a free book on mesothelioma for over 10 years. Since that time, hundreds of people with mesothelioma have trusted us to represent them. We have local offices throughout the U.S., and there is no risk to you. Mesothelioma really is all we do. Call us at 1-800-485-6000. That's 1-800-485-6000. Or go to mesoonlylaw.com.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare. You may be eligible for an all-in-one Medicare plan that combines hospital, medical, and prescription drug coverage together with extra benefits that may include dental, vision, hearing aids, and much more. Some of these plans have a $0 monthly premium regardless of your income. That's right. For one low plan premium, or in some cases a $0 premium, you may be able to get coverage for your hospital visits, doctor appointments, prescription drugs, routine dental care, eyeglasses and contact lenses, hearing aids, and possibly more. Today may be the first time you've heard about this type of Medicare plan. The advisors at the Medicare.com helpline are licensed insurance agents who will explain more when you call. Call now to see if you qualify. Call the number on your screen now. Call now to see if you qualify for these benefits. You worked hard for your Medicare. Now is the time for your Medicare to work hard for you. Not affiliated with or acting on behalf of any government agency or program.
All hands on deck. What's up? I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely. Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
and for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
Pets bring so much joy to our lives. They're loyal, they're protective, and smart. Yet as smart as our pets might be, they can't advocate for themselves, especially in the event of a natural disaster. During Hurricane Harvey, many families were separated from their pets. That's why it's important your pet is part of your family's disaster preparedness plan. Talk to your veterinarian and visit banfieldfoundation.org/disaster. Don't save it for a rainy day.
In life after the military, it's our duty as veterans to have each other's back. I'm retired Colonel Greg Gatson, and it's my mission to help you get the benefits and services you've earned. If you need to file a VA claim, remember these important steps. Submit an online claim through ebenefits.va.gov. Work with an accredited Veteran Service Organization, or VSO. And if you need to attend a VA claim exam, please go. Visit this website to learn what to expect.
Coast Guard, we are taking on water.
The United States Coast Guard. They secure our ports and waterways, protect our environment, keep drugs away from our kids, and save lives. It's dangerous work. And in times of triumph or tragedy, the Coast Guard Foundation answers the call to support Coast Guard members and their families. Learn more at coastguardfoundation.org.
ABC 7 News at 7 weeknights. You're watching ABC 7 News at 7:30.
Welcome back, everyone. We are talking about the rising cost of employer-based health insurance. Joining us for more are Michael Snipes, economics instructor of USF Sarasota Manatee, and Keith Fitzgerald, political science professor at New College. And I want to emphasize again, we're not talking about Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. That's a big issue that we continue the debate and we have on this show. I am talking tonight about employer-based health insurance and how deductibles and premiums seem to go up every single year and insurance covers less. And I'm wondering we talked about some of the political lobbying and constituencies out there that may be responsible for it, but let's talk about what people see every day in their bills that come to their homes and possible solutions to it. We got an email from one viewer, thinks that they're being ripped off by a local hospital. I believe took his wife there, and I think we have some of these costs on the screen. $1,600 for an emergency room visit, $1,100 for diagnostic services, diagnostic testing, $720. Total cost a little bit more than $3,500, $1,900 out of pocket, and they already pay $700 a month, and nothing was wrong for this person. The bottom line is we don't know how much is being paid to someone for your typical emergency room visit. Is that part of the problem?
That's a huge part of the problem because a lot of hospitals and a lot of insurance companies will get together and they have really open-ended fee-for-service plans. And you can have different prices depending upon what state you're in, depending upon what hospital you're in, depending upon whether your doctor is independent or actually works for the hospital. You can have different prices for the exact same procedure at the same hospital for the same care. And you're not going to know that because there's not really any transparency between the insurance company and the hospital and the patient in a lot of cases.
And it's not like you can be a savvy consumer and shop like we would for a brand new TV, on Black Friday here, because let's say, you have a child who is going through an emergency room visit. They tell you they need a CT scan. You're not going to say how much does it cost and would I be better off getting it here or down the road.
Yeah. One of the things that people will often say is that we should do this in a free market system. But as the economists will tell you, free markets operate under certain conditions that are often not met in the real world. And when it comes to healthcare, they're almost never met. So one thing is just asymmetry in information. Some people know how much stuff costs and what you need, and the consumer really doesn't. So the consumer can't shop, and that just destroys the price mechanism.
Well, you bring up two subjects here that I want to get to. I have seen some people talk about bills in Congress that would shed light in terms of the cost of medical procedures, and maybe by showing everybody how much it costs or should cost, you could cut down in terms of the excess cost. On the other hand, and I see this all the time, many times with Republicans, if you just let the free market open up and whether it's negotiating with pharmaceutical companies or over the state lines in terms of health insurance, that will drive down costs. Let's talk about these two different strategies here, Keith.
Well, first of all, with this idea of allowing people to shop across state lines, the first thing you have to understand is we've always regulated health care and health care insurance at the state level. If you allow people to shop across state lines, then whatever state has the least strenuous kind of regulations you have in this area will be the one everybody goes to. And that will not be to the advantage of consumers. Why? Well, because they will go to the place that says you don't have to be transparent about prices. They'll go to the place where they say you don't have to report what your outcomes are, as you do now in most states. So, and a variety of other things like that. So if you want to do it at all in order to get that kind of savings, honestly, you'd have to do it nationally, and a lot of people are not going to like that either.
And there's a kind of a secondary problem with that too. The kind of you have maybe insurance companies going to the states that have the least regulation, but you're also going to have a lot of people who use insurance the most going to the states that have the best systems. Right. And so then you've got all of the high-risk people all pooled into one state, all pooled into one pile, and that's not really going to change any cost for anybody either. So you kind of have, when you go across state lines, that wouldn't, it creates all these kind of like adverse situations.
What about tackling the costs, as we talked about with different testing and publicizing how much hospitals or doctors or are charging for these different procedures, and trying to get a handle on it that way?
And that's one of the things that at least forecasting moving forward, why they think insurance prices are going to go up, is because a lot of the time it's going to come down to an increase in the number of specialty treatments that are needed and an increase in high-cost claimants. And there was a quote that I like that I heard, that being poor carries interest. So if you don't have the money to cover a minor issue today, that issue can turn into a major issue later on, and then you will have to use insurance. You will have to seek medical treatment, and that's something that's going to increase the cost for insurers and for hospitals and for everybody else, and increases costs.
Keith, does that go to what many people believe, that our politics is very short-sighted?
Yeah, absolutely. We, in this country, physician costs are about twice as much as in other countries. But that isn't so much because individual doctors are greedy. It's because a lot of them end up in acute care as opposed to preventive care. I think a lot of doctors would rather do good health care and prevent it rather than make gazillions of dollars a year, but that's a lack of political will.
So, Michael, right now is open enrollment season for many companies around here, and a lot of employees are looking at what their employer is going to be offering next year. They're seeing the increase in terms of premiums and out-of-pocket costs. They're also seeing, in many cases, employers agreeing to cover less. Is it right to get upset at your employer here, or are employers and companies, big and small, being squeezed in ways that they cannot sustain this?
I think it's really the individual companies getting squeezed in ways that they can't sustain, because a lot of these decisions, a lot of the companies, insurance companies, will make offers to the employers, and employers just kind of have to take up the pick of what's offered. And again, it may not always be in the company's best interest, any of those. And we kind of have a bigger issue in that a lot of healthcare costs really eat into people's income. It's healthcare debt is one of the main reasons why people go into bankruptcy, and it eats up on average about 12% of people's income. And so if employers are getting squeezed, and then the employers are passing that squeeze, so to speak, onto its workers, then that's going to really kind of exacerbate a problem that's been going on for a long time. So the healthcare issue is really a piece, and it's an important piece. It's a big piece of a bigger picture.
And again, talking about the politics of it, we made a big deal that last year we got a tax cut, and your average worker got another $30, $40 in their paycheck per pay period. But the increase in healthcare costs has far eaten that up.
Right,
and washes it away.
The insurance policies for small employers are going up faster than big employers. That has to do with the risk pools. And also the share that the company pays as opposed to the employees has also gone up. And let me just say that there are policy fixes to most of these problems. You don't necessarily have to go to a single payer program to make really big inroads in addressing some of these problems.
Well, that would be the question, because when you talk about single payer, then half of the country is going to say, well, that's socialism, we don't want to go there. And on the other hand, the other side will say, just competition in and of itself is not a way to fix this problem.
And one of the things, again, looking at other countries can be helpful. Germany, the Netherlands, Switzerland all have private provision of health care and private payment of health care heavily subsidized by the government. But they have outcomes that are far better than we do. One thing they do is will pool buying power, so that if the government programs from Veterans Affairs, Medicare, Medicaid, and all the private insurers came to the pharmaceutical industry and said, here's how much you're getting for these drugs, they would take it as long as they made some profit.
Okay, we have to take another quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts in a moment, so stay with us.
Where to go and what to do in Muscle Shoals in Florence, Alabama. Personalized just for you. Find your sweet spots at alabama.travel/sweetspot.
I heard about the Datoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Datoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the Datoli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
It's year-end clearance time at every Gettle location. Over 3,000 new vehicles, over 1,000 used vehicles on clearance right now at Gettle.com. And Gettle Pre-Owned Certified Plus means buying with peace of mind. Get credit help, fast cash for your car, and year-end clearance prices right now at a Gettle dealership near you. Gettle's got it. At Gettle.com.
I'll be right back.
Happy Honda Days are here, and you're gonna like the holiday clearance savings. Save on the Accord. On sale for just $249 a month. That's the North American car of the year for less than the competition. Our most impressive Honda ever. On clearance for only $249 a month, loaded with more options, including a turbocharged engine and Honda Sensing. Do not miss these Honda clearance savings this week at your local Honda dealer.
Growing up, my mom was afraid of the water, something she did not want me to feel.
So I enrolled Missy in swim lessons.
It changed my life.
Missy Franklin.
And now you can do the same for someone that you love.
There's nothing more precious than your child's well-being.
So act now, before it's too late.
Make us fly! I'm glad I did.
Thanks, Mom. Visit usaswimmingfoundation.org to find, get, or give a swim lesson.
Our guest joined us right now for final thoughts. And Michael, I'm curious from your perspective, what impact can this or will this have on the economy? Because, and we've been saying this for years, this is not sustainable.
Yeah. I mean, it could have potentially a pretty big negative impact, because as healthcare costs, like we've mentioned, as they continue to increase and outpace increases in wages and income, it's a problem that's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So when healthcare costs take up on average such a huge amount of our income to begin with, and that's already leading to a lot of bankruptcies to begin with, healthcare increases in healthcare costs, especially when they outpace increases in wages and incomes, that's something that could potentially lead to a lot of negative impacts on a lot of people.
So Keith, if this country is not ready to go to a single payer healthcare system that Bernie Sanders proposes, and I take it that you don't believe that that's really a pragmatic or practical approach. What are some of the ideas out there, or does anybody have ideas out there to fix some of the biggest cost drivers that we're dealing with? Yeah, there's several things you can do. And by the way, I'll tell you, the politics is that if the people who are in this industry across the board, insurance, physicians, manufacturers of products, if they don't face up to the problem they have, we're going to get single payer because people are going to demand it as a simple answer to a complicated problem. But there are things we can do. The state of Maryland has an all-payer program where the insurance companies and the government programs get in a room together, figure out what they're willing to pay for certain kind of pharmaceuticals or hospital services, and they tell the people who provide those services, this is what you're going to get. And you know what? They'll take it as long as there's a profit. That's something we should be looking at every state in the country or at the federal level. Where are we in Florida in terms of, with this new legislature and governor coming in, about any chance of them taking some of these things on? I think that the way the state legislature works, it's very unlikely that there's going to be any kind of dramatic change. You would think we'd do Medicaid if we were going to do anything, and I don't see that on the horizon. And Michael, is there some way that you could relate to people watching this now in terms of just Florida, looking at it? What is the impact on the economy here in Florida?
Well, we have an older population in Florida, and older people, generally speaking, spend more on health care. And so this is, and we have a lot of people on fixed income. And so if you have people on fixed income who are facing increasing medical costs, that's going to have an impact on a lot of people in Florida. And especially, if you are on a fixed income and you don't really have any meaningful growth in your income, but as you get older, you require more intensive health care, that's just a problem that's going to keep compounding. Fun times. Gentlemen, thank you very much. We want to thank our guest, Michael Snipes, an economics instructor at USF Sarasota Manatee, and Keith Fitzgerald, political science professor at New College.